Hyunwoo stepped off the transport ship and immediately felt the heat of Thesar 7 hit his face. The planet was warm, much warmer than Earth. He pulled his bag over his shoulder and looked around. The landing pad was surrounded by tall purple trees that swayed in the wind. Strange birds with 4 wings flew overhead, making sounds he had never heard before. A woman walked toward him. She was human, which made Hyunwoo feel a bit better. Being the only human on an alien planet would have been scary. "You must be Hyunwoo," the woman said with a smile. "I'm Ji-won. Welcome to the Velkari Wildlife Sanctuary." Hyunwoo shook her hand. "Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I've read so much about this place," Ji-won laughed. "Reading about it and seeing it are very different things. Come on, I'll show you around." They walked down a stone path. The sanctuary was huge. Hyunwoo could see large enclosures in the distance, each one bigger than a football field. The fences were made of some kind of energy field that glowed faintly blue. "So you're an agricultural specialist?" Ji-won asked as they walked. "Yes," Hyunwoo said. "I work with soil and plants. Your message said you needed help growing food for the animals here." Ji-won nodded. "That's right. We have many different species here, and each one needs different types of plants. Some are very picky eaters. We thought a human might have new ideas." Hyunwoo smiled. Humans were known across the galaxy for being good at growing things. It was one of the few things humans did better than most other species. They reached a large building. Inside it was cool and clean. Other workers moved around, some human, some alien. Hyunwoo saw a tall blue creature with 6 arms carrying equipment. Another alien that looked like a walking tree was typing on a computer. "This is the main research center," Ji-won explained. "We study the animals here and try to keep them healthy. Let me introduce you to Tai Yang. He's one of our senior handlers." A young man looked up from his desk. He had kind eyes and a friendly smile. "Welcome, Hyunwoo. Ji-won told me about you. We really need your help." "I'll do my best," Hyunwoo said. "Good," Tai Yang said, standing up. "Want to see the Velkari? They're our most important residents." Hyunwoo's eyes widened. "The Velkari, really? I thought they were dangerous." "They are," Tai Yang said seriously. "Very dangerous. The Velkari are the top predators on their homeworld. Adults can grow as big as a bus. They're strong, fast, and very smart. Most species in the galaxy are afraid of them." "Then why do you keep them here?" Hyunwoo asked. Ji-won answered. "The Velkari Empire asked us to. Their species is having trouble breeding. Their cubs often die young. They sent some cubs here so we could study them and try to help." "It's a huge responsibility," Tai Yang added. "If something happens to these cubs, it could cause a war." "The Velkari are very protective of their young." Hyunwoo felt nervous. He was just here to help with plants, not deal with dangerous alien predators. They walked outside to a special enclosure. It was surrounded by multiple energy fences. Signs everywhere warned people to stay back. Through the fence, Hyunwoo could see 3 creatures that looked like tigers but much bigger. Their fur was silver and blue, and they had 6 legs instead of 4. Their teeth were as long as his arm. "Those are the cubs?" Hyunwoo asked in shock. "Yes," Ji-won said. "They're only 6 months old. Still babies." The cubs were playing with each other, rolling around and making chirping sounds. They looked playful and curious, but Hyunwoo could see their claws. Each claw was sharp and deadly. "We feed them twice a day," Tai Yang explained. "They eat a special meat mixture that we prepare. But lately they've been eating less. We're worried about them." Another woman joined them. She looked tired. "The cubs barely touched their breakfast today," she said. "I'm Da-eun, by the way. I'm the head nutritionist. What do you think is wrong?" Hyunwoo asked. Da-eun shrugged. "We're not sure. Maybe they're bored with their food. Maybe they're sick. We've run tests, but everything looks normal." "It's feeding time soon," Tai Yang said. "Want to watch?" Hyunwoo nodded. He was curious now. They went to an observation deck that overlooked the enclosure. 2 workers in protective suits carried large buckets of meat into the enclosure, using a special entrance. They placed the buckets down and quickly left. The cubs looked at the meat but didn't seem interested. They sniffed it and walked away. "See?" Da-eun said with frustration. "They won't eat." Hyunwoo felt bad for the cubs. They were so far from their home world, living in a cage. He sat down on a bench nearby and opened his bag. All the talk about food made him hungry. He pulled out a small container of snacks he had made that morning. They were simple chips made from vegetables seasoned with spices from Earth. Hyunwoo's mother had taught him how to make them. They were crunchy and spicy with a little bit of sweetness. He popped one in his mouth. The sound was loud in the quiet observation deck. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Suddenly, all 3 cubs stopped moving. Their heads turned toward the observation deck. Their noses lifted into the air. What's happening? Jiwan asked. The cubs started making sounds. They were whining, almost like dogs. They walked toward the fence, their eyes fixed on Hyunwoo. Are they looking at me? Hyunwoo asked nervously. What are you eating? Taeyang asked. Just some snacks I made. Vegetable chips with spices. The cubs were now pressing against the inner fence. Their noses pushed through the energy field, sniffing desperately. They made louder whining sounds. They want your food, Da-un said in amazement. They're ignoring prime meat for your snacks. That's impossible, Jiwan said. Velkari are carnivores. They only eat meat. But the cubs were clearly interested in something else. They pawed at the fence, their eyes locked on the container in Hyunwoo's hands. Hyunwoo looked at his chips, then at the cubs. Should I give them one? Absolutely not, Taeyang said quickly. We don't know how they'll react. It could make them sick. But they're not eating their regular food, Hyunwoo pointed out. What if they need something different? Daeun bit her lip, thinking. He has a point. And they do seem very interested. It's too dangerous, Jiwan said. What if the chips are poisonous to them? What if I just throw one far into the enclosure? Hyunwoo suggested. If they eat it and seem fine, we'll know. If they ignore it, no harm done. The 3 handlers looked at each other. Finally, Taeyang nodded. Okay, but just one. And we'll monitor them closely. Hyunwoo stood up and walked to the fence. The cubs got excited, bouncing on their 6 legs. He took one chip and threw it over the multiple fences. It landed in the dirt inside the enclosure. The smallest cub ran to it immediately. It sniffed the chip carefully, then licked it. Suddenly, its whole body froze. Then it ate the chip in one bite. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cub made a sound. It was a deep rumbling sound that came from its chest. What is that? Hyunwoo whispered. Daeun's mouth was open in shock. That's purring. Velkari cubs purr when they're extremely happy. But we've never heard it before. Not once in the 6 months they've been here. The other 2 cubs ran over, sniffing their sibling. They smelled the chip on its breath and turned back to Hyunwoo, their eyes pleading. Hyunwoo looked at the handlers. They looked back at him, speechless. Something very strange was happening. And somehow Hyunwoo's simple homemade snacks were at the center of it. The next morning, Hyunwoo woke up early. He couldn't stop thinking about the cubs. After giving them a few more chips yesterday, the handlers had stopped him. They wanted to make sure the chips weren't harmful. All night they had monitored the cubs through cameras. Hyunwoo got dressed and rushed to the research center. He found Da-un, Jiwan, and Taeyang already there looking at computer screens. How are they? Hyunwoo asked. Da-un looked up with a huge smile. Perfect. Better than perfect, actually. They're more active than we've ever seen them. They played for 3 hours last night. Usually they only play for 30 minutes. Their vital signs are excellent, Jiwan added. Heart rate, brain activity, everything looks great. Taeyang was shaking his head in disbelief. And this morning they ate all their meat. Every single piece. They've never done that before. So the chips helped them? Hyunwoo asked. It seems like it, Daeun said. But we need to understand why. This doesn't make sense. Velkari are obligate carnivores. They should only want meat. A woman Hyunwoo hadn't met before walked into the room. She was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a white lab coat with many badges on it. This is Dr. Minji, Jiwan said. She's a xenobiologist. She studies alien life forms. I heard about yesterday, Minji said, looking at Hyunwoo. You're the one with the magic snacks? Hyunwoo felt embarrassed. They're just vegetable chips. Nothing special. Everything is special if we don't understand it, Minji said. She turned to Da-un. I need samples. Of the chips, of the cubs' saliva, of their blood. I want to know what's happening at a molecular level. Of course, Da-un said. We saved some of the chips from yesterday. Minji took the container of chips and examined them closely. She smelled them. These have a strong odor. What spices did you use? Hyunwoo tried to remember. Red pepper powder, garlic powder, a little bit of fermented soybean paste, sesame oil, and some salt. Fermented? Minji's eyes lit up. You used fermented ingredients? Yes, Hyunwoo said. It's common in Korean cooking. Fermentation makes food taste better and last longer. Minji started typing quickly on her portable computer. Interesting. Very interesting. The Velkari homeworld has very few fermented foods. Their digestive system evolved differently. But if they don't eat fermented food, won't it make them sick? Taeyang asked. Not necessarily, Minji said. Just because they don't eat something naturally doesn't mean they can't. Humans didn't eat many foods until we learned to cook and prepare them differently. She looked at Hyunwoo. Can you make more of these chips? I want to run experiments. Sure, Hyunwoo said. I can make different kinds too. With different spices. Perfect, Minji said. Let's start today. For the next week, Hyunwoo spent his time in the sanctuary kitchen. He made batch after batch of different snacks. Some with more spice, some with less. Some with different vegetables. Some with different fermented ingredients. Each day they gave small amounts to the cubs. Each time the cubs reacted with excitement. They loved every single snack Hyunwoo made. But their favorite was the original recipe, with the red pepper powder and fermented soybean paste. Minji ran countless tests. She studied the cubs' reactions, their saliva, their blood. She compared everything to data from adult Velkari on their homeworld. Finally, after 7 days, she called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the conference room. Minji stood at the front with a large screen behind her. I found something remarkable, she said. The Velkari taste receptors are much more complex than we thought. She showed images of cells on the screen. Like most carnivores, Velkari can taste proteins and fats very well. That's normal. But they also have receptors for something else. Something we didn't expect. What? Dayun asked. Umami and fermentation compounds, Minji said. These receptors are usually dormant. They don't activate with normal Velkari food, but when exposed to fermented foods and certain spices, they activate strongly. I don't understand, Ji-won said. Why would they have receptors for food they don't eat? Minji smiled. That's the mystery. My theory is that ancient Velkari, thousands of years ago, ate a more varied diet. Perhaps they scavenged fermented meats or ate prey that had fermented plants in their stomachs. Over time, as they became better hunters, they stopped eating these things. But the receptors remained. So the cubs like the chips because it activates taste receptors they didn't know they had, Hyunwoo asked. Exactly, Minji said. It's like if a human who never ate sweet food suddenly tasted chocolate. The receptors are there, waiting. When finally activated, the experience is intense and pleasurable. Taeyang leaned back in his chair. This is incredible. But what do we do with this information? We need to tell the Velkari Empire, Da-un said. If their cubs need these flavors to be healthy and happy, they should know. Agreed, Minji said. But there's a problem. Humans are the only species in the galaxy that commonly use fermentation in cooking. Most other species find the idea disgusting. So the Velkari would need human food to keep their cubs healthy, Ji-won asked. It appears so, Minji said. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The Velkari Empire was powerful and proud. They didn't like depending on other species for anything. Maybe they won't care, Hyunwoo said quietly. Maybe they'll say their cubs don't need it. Maybe, Minji said. But we have to try. This could change everything we know about Velkari biology. That afternoon, they sent a message to the Velkari Empire. They explained what they had discovered. They attached all of Minji's research data. They included videos of the cubs purring and playing after eating Hyunwoo's snacks. Then they waited. 3 days later, a response came. It was short and direct. Representatives will arrive in 1 week to evaluate the claims. The sanctuary became busy. Everyone cleaned and prepared. They wanted everything to be perfect when the Velkari arrived. Hyunwoo felt nervous. He had never met a Velkari before. Adult Velkari were famous across the galaxy. They were warriors, diplomats, and explorers. They were respected and feared. Don't worry, Ji-won told him. Just be yourself. Show them what you showed the cubs. But what if they're angry? Hyunwoo asked. What if they think we're trying to trick them? Then we show them the evidence, Da-un said firmly. The science doesn't lie. The week passed slowly. Hyunwoo practiced making his chips. He wanted them to be perfect. He also made other snacks, trying new recipes. Spicy rice crackers, fermented vegetable strips, seaweed seasoned with garlic and pepper. The cubs loved everything. They ate their meat rations without complaint now, but they always looked forward to snack time. They had gained weight and their fur looked shinier. They played more and slept better. Even the sanctuary veterinarian noticed the difference. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, she told Hyunwoo. These cubs are the healthiest I've ever seen them. On the day the Velkari were supposed to arrive, everyone gathered at the landing pad. Hyunwoo stood with Ji-won, Da-un, Taeyang, and Minji. His hands were shaking. A large ship descended from the sky. It was black and silver, shaped like a blade. It landed smoothly on the pad. The door opened. 3 Velkari stepped out. Hyunwoo gasped. They were enormous. Each one stood 3 meters tall. Their bodies were covered in silver and blue fur. Their 6 legs moved with deadly grace. Their faces were like tigers, but more intelligent, more aware. Their eyes glowed yellow. They wore clothes which somehow made them more impressive. Metal armor covered their chests and legs. Weapons hung from their belts. The lead Velkari walked forward. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rumbling. He spoke in Galactic Standard, the language used for interspecies communication. I am Commander Jae-hyun of the Velkari Empire. We are here to see our cubs. Minji stepped forward. She was brave, Hyunwoo thought. She didn't show any fear. Welcome, Commander. I am Dr. Minji, head xenobiologist. We're honored by your visit. Jae-hyun's eyes moved over each of them, stopping on Hyunwoo. You are the human who makes the food. It wasn't a question. Hyunwoo swallowed hard. Yes, sir. Show me, Jae-hyun said simply. They walked to the enclosure. The cubs saw the adult Velkari and became excited. They ran to the fence, making chirping sounds. The adult Velkari made sounds back, a complex series of growls and purrs. They're talking, Jiwon whispered to Hyunwoo. Family communication. After a few minutes, Jae-hyun turned back to them. The cubs are happy, healthy, this is good. Now show me this human food that has caused such interest. Hyunwoo's moment had arrived. Hyunwoo led the group to the research center's kitchen. His hand still shook a bit. Commander Jae-hyun was intimidating. The massive Velkari had to duck through doorways. His claws clicked on the floor with each step. The other 2 Velkari followed silently. One was introduced as Officer Bo-ra, the other as Specialist Young-soo. They watched everything with sharp, intelligent eyes. In the kitchen, Hyunwoo had already prepared his ingredients. Vegetables were cut and ready. His spices were laid out in small bowls. He had his fermenting containers on the counter. Please sit, Minji said, gesturing to reinforced chairs they had brought in specially. The Velkari sat. Even sitting, they were taller than the humans standing. Begin, Jae-hyun said to Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. Okay, so I make these chips from vegetables. I slice them thin like this. He demonstrated, cutting a potato into thin rounds. The Velkari watched closely. Then I season them. This is red pepper powder. We call it gochugaru in Korean. It's made from dried and ground red peppers. He sprinkled the bright red powder over the sliced vegetables. Young-soo leaned forward, sniffing. His nose wrinkled. Strong smell. Burning smell. It's spicy, Hyunwoo explained. It makes your mouth feel hot. Humans enjoy this feeling. Bora tilted her head. Why would you enjoy pain? It's not really pain, Hyunwoo said. It's hard to explain. It's more like excitement for your taste buds. He continued adding ingredients. This is garlic powder. This is sesame oil. And this, he held up a jar, is doenjang, fermented soybean paste. All 3 Velkari leaned back slightly. Jae-hyun's nose twitched. That smell is very strong. Not pleasant. I know it smells strange, Hyunwoo said. But when it's cooked with other ingredients, it tastes really good. The fermentation process breaks down the soybeans and creates new flavors. Fermentation, Jae-hyun said slowly. This is when food is left to rot, yes? Minji stepped in. Not rot exactly. Fermentation is controlled decomposition. Specific bacteria or yeasts break down food in ways that are safe and beneficial. Many species use fermentation, but humans have developed it into an art form. Hyunwoo mixed all the ingredients together, coating the vegetable slices. Then he placed them in a dehydrator. Usually I would dry these slowly overnight. But I have a batch that's already ready. He pulled out a container of finished chips. They were crispy and reddish-brown with flecks of seasoning visible on the surface. May I? Minji asked. She took one and bit into it. The crunch echoed in the quiet kitchen. These are the ones the cubs love most, she explained to the Velkari. We've tested many varieties. This specific combination produces the strongest positive response. Jae-hyun stared at the chips. And you believe this food is necessary for cub health? Not necessary for survival, Minji said carefully, but beneficial for optimal development. The cubs show increased activity, better appetite for their regular food, improved social behavior, and healthy weight gain after consuming these snacks. I want to see the data, Jae-hyun said. For the next 2 hours, Minji presented her research. She showed brain scans, blood work, behavioral charts. She explained the taste receptor theory in detail. The Velkari asked many questions. They were not just warriors, Hyunwoo realized. They were also scientists and scholars. Their questions were intelligent and precise. Young-soo was particularly interested in the fermentation process. On our homeworld, we have very little fermented food. Our climate is dry. Food dries out before it can ferment properly. That makes sense, Minji said. Fermentation usually requires moisture, but your ancestors might have encountered it in specific situations, perhaps in wet seasons or in prey animals' digestive systems. Interesting theory, Bora said. It would explain the dormant receptors. Finally, Jae-hyun stood. I want to taste this food myself. The room went silent. Daeun looked worried. Commander, we haven't tested it on adult Velkari. We don't know if it's safe. I am not afraid of human food, Jae-hyun said. There was pride in his voice. Hyunwoo picked up the container. His hand was steady now. He had spent hours making these chips. He was confident they were good. He held out the container to Jae-hyun. Take one. Put it in your mouth and chew slowly. The flavor builds as you chew. Jae-hyun's large clawed hand reached into the container. He pulled out a single chip. It looked tiny in his massive paw. He sniffed it carefully, then placed it in his mouth. Everyone watched. No one breathed. Jae-hyun's eyes widened. He chewed slowly. His expression changed from suspicious to surprised to something else. Something that looked like pleasure. He swallowed. For a moment he said nothing. Then a sound came from his chest. A deep rumbling purr. Bora and Young-soo stared at their commander. Velkari warriors didn't purr. That was for cubs and mothers, but Jae-hyun was purring. His eyes had closed slightly. His whole body seemed to relax. By the stars, he said quietly. What is this sensation? That's the taste receptors activating, Minji said, trying to keep her voice professional. But Hyunwoo could see she was excited. Bora reached for the container. May I? Of course, Hyunwoo said. She took a chip and ate it. Her reaction was similar to Jae-hyun's. A moment of surprise, then pleasure, then purring. Young-soo was next. He ate 2 chips. Fascinating. The flavor is complex. Spicy, salty, something else I cannot name. Umami, Hyunwoo said. It's a savory taste. The fermented soybean paste provides it. Umami, Young-soo repeated. We have no word for this in our language. The 3 Velkari ate more chips. They couldn't seem to stop themselves. The container was half empty before Jae-hyun forced himself to put it down. This is remarkable, he said. I have never tasted anything like this. Food on our world is bland by comparison. Most species in the galaxy find human food too strong, Ji-won said. We use many spices and fermented ingredients. It's unusual. Unusual and wonderful, Bora said. She was still purring slightly. Jae-hyun looked at Hyunwoo. Can you teach others to make this food? Yes, Hyunwoo said. It's not difficult. Anyone can learn. But they would need the ingredients, Minji pointed out. The spices, the fermented paste. These things don't exist outside of human space. Jae-hyun nodded slowly. That is a problem. The Velkari Empire does not like depending on other species. Perhaps we could trade, Daeun suggested carefully. Humans could provide ingredients or teach your people to make them. Trade, Jae-hyun said, considering. That would require negotiation at the highest levels. Young-soo was examining Hyunwoo's fermentation jars. Could we grow the ingredients on our world? Could we learn to ferment our own foods? Maybe, Hyunwoo said. You would need the right bacteria cultures and the right environment. But it's possible. Bora had pulled out a communication device. Commander, we should inform the Empire about this immediately. Agreed, Jae-hyun said. This discovery is too important to delay. She typed rapidly on the device. After a moment, she looked up. The High Council wants a full report. They're requesting we bring samples back to the homeworld. I can prepare samples, Hyunwoo said. Different varieties. And I can write instructions for making them. Would you come with us? Jae-hyun asked suddenly. To our homeworld? To teach our people directly? Hyunwoo's mouth fell open. Me? Go to the Velkari homeworld? Few outsiders have ever been invited to our world, Bora said. This would be a great honor. Hyunwoo looked at Ji-won and Da-yoon. They looked shocked but excited. I would need to think about it, Hyunwoo said. It's a big decision. Of course, Jae-hyun said. But know that the Velkari Empire would be grateful. Very grateful. Over the next few days, the Velkari stayed at the sanctuary. They spent time with the cubs. They ate more of Hyunwoo's cooking. He made them different dishes, always including fermented ingredients and spices. They loved everything. Spicy rice crackers made them purr. Fermented vegetable wraps made their eyes close in pleasure. Sweet and spicy dried seaweed made them ask for seconds. Our people need this, Young-soo said one evening. They were eating dinner together. Hyunwoo had made a simple meal of seasoned vegetables and rice. Need is a strong word, Minji said. Want might be more accurate. Perhaps, Young-soo admitted. But consider this. Our cubs are healthier with this food. We adults feel something we have never felt before. How can we ignore this? Jae-hyun was quiet. He had been thinking deeply about something. Finally, he spoke. The Velkari Empire has always been strong because we are independent. We need no one. But perhaps that strength has made us miss something important. What do you mean? Bora asked. We have rejected trade, rejected cultural exchange, rejected outside influence. We believe this made us strong. But look at these cubs. They are healthier because they experienced something new, something outside their species' normal experience. He looked at Hyunwoo. Humans are small, physically weak by our standards. No natural weapons, but you create things we cannot. You grow things we cannot. You prepare food in ways we never imagined. Every species has strengths, Hyunwoo said quietly. Yes, Jae-hyun agreed. And perhaps it is time the Velkari Empire learned to recognize that. He stood. I will recommend to the High Council that we establish formal relations with humanity. Not just trade relations, cultural exchange, educational programs. That would be unprecedented, Bora said. Many things about this situation are unprecedented, Jae-hyun replied. But I believe it is... Right. He looked at Hyunwoo again. Will you come to our world? Will you teach us? The journey to the Velkari homeworld took 3 weeks. Hyunwoo spent most of that time in the ship's kitchen, experimenting with the limited ingredients he had brought. Commander Jae-hyun had given him a whole section of the cargo hold for his supplies. The Velkari ship was impressive. It was much larger than the human transport ships Hyunwoo had traveled on before. Everything was built on a huge scale to accommodate the Velkari's size. The ceilings were 5 meters high. The doors were wide enough for 3 humans to walk through side by side. Hyunwoo shared the ship with Jae-hyun, Bora, Young-soo, and a crew of 15 other Velkari. At first they were formal and distant. But when Hyunwoo started cooking, everything changed. The smell of his food filled the ship. Curry spices, roasting peppers, fermenting vegetables. The Velkari couldn't resist. One by one, they would find excuses to walk past the kitchen. They would peek inside, their noses twitching. Would you like to try some? Hyunwoo would ask. They always said yes. By the end of the first week, Hyunwoo was cooking for the entire crew. He taught them about different flavors. Sweet, salty, spicy, sour, and umami. The Velkari found the concept of umami particularly fascinating. It's like meat, but not meat, one crew member said after trying miso soup. Exactly, Hyunwoo said. Umami is the savory flavor. It exists in meat, but also in fermented foods, mushrooms, and tomatoes. Young-soo became Hyunwoo's constant companion. The Velkari specialist wanted to learn everything about human cooking. He took notes on a digital pad. He asked endless questions. Why do you ferment soybeans but not meat? He asked one day. Humans do ferment meat, Hyunwoo explained. We have fermented sausages, fish, and other things, but it's more difficult and dangerous. Soybeans are safer and easier. Could we ferment Velkari food? Young-soo asked. Maybe, Hyunwoo said. We would need to experiment. Different foods ferment differently. The conversation gave Hyunwoo an idea. Do you have anything from your homeworld? Any food plants or meats? In the cold storage, Young-soo said. Food for the journey, why? Let me try fermenting it, Hyunwoo said. If it works, your people could make fermented foods without importing human ingredients. Young-soo's eyes brightened. That would be valuable, very valuable. They went to the cold storage together. Inside, Hyunwoo saw various Velkari foods. Most were meats, but there were some plants too. Strange purple tubers, green stalks that looked like celery, blueberries. These plants, Hyunwoo said, pointing to the tubers. What are they called? Core root, Young-soo said. Very common on our world. We usually eat them raw or dried. Hyunwoo picked one up. It was heavy and dense. Can I experiment with these? Of course, Young-soo said. Take whatever you need. For the next few days, Hyunwoo worked on fermenting core root. He tried different bacteria cultures, different salt levels, different temperatures. Young-Soo helped learning the process. Some attempts failed. The root turned black and smelled terrible. But other attempts worked. The core root fermented into something similar to pickles. It was crunchy and tangy. Hyunwoo added spices. Not the spices from Earth, but ground-up Velkari berries and dried herbs. The result was unique. It didn't taste exactly like Earth food, but it was good. He offered some to Jae-hyun. The commander ate it slowly, thoughtfully. Then he smiled. Hyunwoo had learned that Velkari smiles showed teeth. It was intimidating at first, but Hyunwoo understood now that it was friendly. "This is core root?" Jae-hyun asked. "Yes," Hyunwoo said. "Fermented and spiced. I have eaten core root my entire life. It has always been bland and boring. But this is delicious." "That's the power of fermentation and seasoning," Hyunwoo said. "Simple ingredients can become something amazing with the right preparation." Jae-hyun looked at the fermented root in his hand. "You have given us a gift, Hyunwoo. Not just your food, but knowledge. The ability to transform what we already have. Anyone can learn," Hyunwoo said. "That's what I want to teach your people." Finally, after 3 weeks, they arrived at the Velkari homeworld. It was called Velkar Prime. Through the ship's windows, Hyunwoo saw a planet of red deserts and purple mountains. There were green areas, too, near water sources. "It's beautiful," Hyunwoo said. "It is home," Jae-hyun said simply. The ship landed at a massive spaceport. As Hyunwoo stepped off the ship, he felt heavier. The gravity here was stronger than Earth's. He would need time to adjust. Dozens of Velkari waited at the landing pad. News of Hyunwoo's arrival had spread. The small human who made magical food. An older Velkari stepped forward. She wore elaborate robes decorated with metal and jewels. Her fur was gray with age. "I am Council Elder Soo-jin," she said in Galactic Standard. "On behalf of the Velkari Empire, welcome to our world." Hyunwoo bowed, as was polite in Korean culture. "Thank you, Elder. I'm honored to be here." Soo-jin studied him closely. "You are very small." "Yes," Hyunwoo agreed. "Humans are small compared to Velkari. Yet you have created something that has impressed our greatest warriors. That is remarkable." She turned to the crowd. "Come. The High Council wishes to meet you." They traveled to the capital city by vehicle. The city was enormous, built for creatures much larger than humans. Buildings reached into the sky. Streets were wide enough for 6 Velkari to walk side by side. The council building was at the city's center. It was ancient, made of red stone. Inside, the walls were covered with carvings showing Velkari history. The High Council chamber was circular. 12 Velkari sat on raised seats around the room. They were all elderly, all important-looking. Hyunwoo felt very small standing in the center. Elder Soo-jin sat in the highest seat. She spoke first. "Human Hyunwoo, we have reviewed Commander Jae-hyun's reports. We have examined Dr. Minji's research data. We are convinced that your food has genuine benefits for our species." "Thank you, Elder," Hyunwoo said. Another council member spoke. His voice was deep and authoritative. "But we must understand the implications. If we accept this food, we become dependent on human ingredients. The Velkari Empire has never been dependent on anyone." "That's not entirely true, Elder," Hyunwoo said carefully. Everyone went silent. Speaking against a council member was bold, but Hyunwoo continued. "I've been experimenting on the journey here. I successfully fermented core root using techniques from Earth. The result was delicious. This means you don't need Earth ingredients. You can use your own foods. I just need to teach you the techniques." The council members looked at each other. Elder Soo-jin leaned forward. "Explain." "Fermentation isn't about specific ingredients," Hyunwoo said. "It's about the process, the bacteria, the salt, the time, the temperature. These techniques can be applied to any food. Your world has different plants and meats than Earth, but they can be fermented too." Young-Soo stepped forward. "I witnessed this myself, Honored Council. The human used our core root. He created something new and wonderful from our own food." "Show us," demanded a council member. Hyunwoo had prepared for this. He pulled out containers from his bag. "I made several varieties on the journey. Different Velkari plants, different methods." He handed them out. The council members tried each one. Hyunwoo watched their reactions carefully. First surprise, then pleasure. Several of them began to purr. "This is core root," one said in amazement. "Common core root. But I have never tasted it like this." "And this," another said, "this is velberry. We feed it to livestock, but prepared this way it's delicious. Elder Sujin tried the fermented velberry. She closed her eyes. Incredible. We have been eating these foods for thousands of years. We never knew they could taste like this. That's what I want to teach, Hyunwoo said. Not dependence on Earth, but new techniques that you can use with your own resources. The council deliberated for hours. Hyunwoo waited outside the chamber with Jae-hyun and Young-soo. You did well, Jae-hyun said. Here. You showed respect but also confidence. I just told the truth, Hyunwoo said. I don't want to create dependence. I want to share knowledge. Finally, the council called them back in. Elder Sujin stood. The High Council has made a decision. We will accept your offer, human Hyunwoo. You will teach our people your techniques. In exchange, we will establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. We will open trade. We will share our knowledge as you share yours, she paused. This is a new path for the Velkari Empire. For thousands of years we have stood alone. We believed this made us strong. But perhaps we were only limiting ourselves. Another council member spoke. We are warriors. We are proud. But pride should not prevent growth. You will stay on our world as long as needed, Elder Sujin continued. You will teach our chefs, our farmers, our scientists. We will provide you with anything you need. I'll do my best, Hyunwoo said. One more thing, Elder Sujin said. A smile played on her lips. The cubs from the sanctuary are returning to Velkar Prime next month. Their parents have specifically requested that you be present for their homecoming, and that you bring those chips they love so much. Everyone laughed. The sound of Velkari laughter was like rolling thunder. I'll make sure to bring plenty, Hyunwoo promised. Over the following months, Hyunwoo worked harder than he ever had in his life. He taught classes to Velkari chefs. He worked with Velkari farmers to identify which native plants would ferment well. 2 years had passed since Hyunwoo first arrived on Velkar Prime. The planet that once felt alien now felt like a second home. He had learned to walk in the heavy gravity without tiring. He had learned basic Velkari language, though his accent made cubs giggle. He had even learned to sleep through the sound of Velkari thunderstorms, which were much louder than Earth storms. But more importantly, he had helped transform Velkari food culture. Hyunwoo stood in the teaching kitchen of the Velkari Culinary Academy. It was a building that didn't exist 2 years ago. Now it was the most prestigious cooking school on the planet. 50 Velkari students sat in the large classroom taking notes as Hyunwoo demonstrated. Remember, he said in Galactic Standard, fermentation is about patience. You can't rush it. The bacteria need time to work. A young Velkari student raised her hand. Teacher Hyunwoo, what if the fermentation goes wrong? Good question, Hyunwoo said. Your nose will tell you. Bad fermentation smells rotten and makes you feel sick. Good fermentation smells strong but appetizing. Trust your instincts. Another student asked, Can we ferment vel meat? We're still experimenting with meats, Hyunwoo admitted. Meat fermentation is trickier than plant fermentation, but we'll figure it out. His assistant, a Velkari chef named Dong-hyun, helped distribute samples to the students. Dong-hyun had been one of Hyunwoo's first students. Now he was an expert in fusion cuisine, blending traditional Velkari recipes with fermentation techniques. Try this carefully, Dong-hyun instructed. It's spicier than last week's batch. The students tried the fermented core root. Some purred with pleasure. Others grabbed water, overwhelmed by the heat. Hyunwoo smiled. 2 years ago, Velkari didn't understand the concept of too spicy. Now they debated spice levels like Earth food critics. After class, Hyunwoo walked through the capital city. So much had changed. Food stalls lined the streets, selling fermented vegetables, spicy rice cakes, seasoned meat strips. The smells reminded him of Earth's markets. A Velkari vendor called out to him. Teacher Hyunwoo, try my new recipe. Hyunwoo stopped at the stall. The vendor handed him a skewer of grilled meat covered in a dark sauce. I fermented velberries with salt and garlic, the vendor explained proudly. Then I used it as a glaze. What do you think? Hyunwoo took a bite. The meat was tender, the glaze sweet and savory with a hint of tang. This is excellent. Really creative, the vendor purred happily. You've changed our world, teacher. Food used to be just fuel. Now it's art, Hyunwoo continued walking. He passed restaurants advertising authentic fusion cuisine and shops selling fermentation supplies. Young Velkari cubs played in the streets, and Hyunwoo noticed they looked healthier than the cubs he'd seen when he first arrived. Better nutrition was making a real difference. His communication device buzzed. It was a message from Jiwan back at the sanctuary. Emergency council meeting requested. Your presence required. Earth diplomatic vessel arriving tomorrow. Hyunwoo felt a flutter of nervousness. He hadn't been back to Earth since he arrived on Velkar Prime. He missed it sometimes. Missed his mother's cooking. Missed the way Earth rain smelled. The next day, Hyunwoo stood in the council chamber again. But this time he wasn't alone. Beside him stood Ambassador Hansol, a human diplomat from Earth. 3 other humans were with her, all looking nervous. The Velkari were intimidating, especially when dozens of them filled a room. Elder Sujin spoke first. Welcome, Ambassador. We requested this meeting to discuss expansion of our relationship with humanity. Hansol bowed respectfully. The Earth government is honored by the friendship we've built with the Velkari Empire. Friendship, Sujin repeated. Yes, that is what this has become. 2 years ago, we saw humans as weak but useful. Now we see you as equals. Partners. Another council member spoke. The human Hyunwoo has done more than teach us to cook. He has taught us to see value in what we overlooked. To appreciate complexity. To understand that strength has many forms. We want to propose something unprecedented, Sujin continued. A cultural exchange program. Velkari young will study on Earth. Human young will study here. We will learn from each other not just about food, but about art, science, philosophy. Hansol looked shocked. That is incredibly generous. Earth would be honored to participate. There's more, Sujin said. We want to establish a joint colony, a planet where humans and Velkari live together, sharing resources and knowledge. A joint colony? Hansol repeated. That's never been done before. Different species don't usually colonize together. That's exactly why we should try, Sujin said. The galaxy is full of species that keep to themselves. We trade, we negotiate, but we don't truly integrate. The Velkari Empire wants to change that. A younger council member leaned forward. 2 years ago, I would have opposed this. I would have said Velkari should remain pure, separate, but I've eaten food created by Velkari chefs using human techniques. I've seen our cubs grow strong on meals that blend our cultures. Integration makes us stronger, not weaker. Hyunwoo felt proud. This was more than he'd ever hoped to accomplish. Hansol discussed details with the council for hours. Hyunwoo mostly listened, but at one point Sujin turned to him. Human Hyunwoo, you have been on our world for 2 years. Do you wish to return to Earth? The question caught him off guard. I don't know. I miss Earth, but I love it here too. You don't have to choose, Sujin said gently. You are welcome here always. But you should visit your home, see your family, then decide where you want to be. Thank you, Elder, Hyunwoo said. After the meeting, Hyunwoo walked with Ambassador Hansol through the city. This is incredible, she said, looking around. I've read the reports, but seeing it in person is different. Velkari eating street food, food trucks, cooking competitions. It happened gradually, Hyunwoo said. At first, only a few Velkari were interested. But once they tasted fermented food, word spread quickly. You've become famous, you know, Hansol said. On Earth. There are news articles about you. The human who befriended the Velkari through cooking. Some people think it's propaganda. Hyunwoo laughed. It's real. All of it. They stopped at a restaurant. Through the window, they could see a Velkari chef preparing food. He moved with confidence, adding spices, tasting, adjusting. That's Dong-hyun, Hyunwoo said. One of my best students. He's opening a second restaurant next month. What will you do? Hansol asked. Will you stay here? Return to Earth? You have options now. I've been thinking about that, Hyunwoo admitted. I want to do more. There are other species in the galaxy, other cultures. What if they're missing something too? What if human cooking could help them? Hansol smiled. You want to travel the galaxy teaching aliens to cook? Maybe, Hyunwoo said. Or maybe I want to open a restaurant, a place where any species can come and experience human food. That's ambitious. Someone told me once that strength comes in many forms, Hyunwoo said. Humans aren't strong like Velkari. We can't fight like them. But we can create. We can cook. We can bring people together through shared meals. 3 months later, the first human Velkari joint restaurant opened in the capital city. It was called The Bridge in both languages. Hyunwoo owned it with Young-soo, the Velkari scientist who had become his close friend. The restaurant was designed to accommodate both species. High tables and low tables, large portions and small portions. Velkari chefs worked alongside human chefs in the kitchen. The menu was revolutionary. It featured dishes that were purely Korean, purely Velkari, and fusion creations that blended both cultures. Kimchi made with core root, bulgogi prepared with vel meat, fermented velberry sauce over rice. Opening night was packed. Velkari and humans filled every table. Elder Sujin attended along with several council members. Ambassador Hansol was there too, along with other human diplomats. Hyunwoo stood in the kitchen coordinating dishes. He felt more nervous than he had in years. "First order ready," Dong-hyun called out. Hyunwoo looked at the plate. It was beautiful. Grilled vel meat arranged artfully, drizzled with fermented sauce garnished with fresh herbs. It represented everything they'd worked for. He carried it out himself to Elder Sujin's table. "The first plate of the evening," he said, setting it down. "Thank you for making this possible." Sujin looked at the food, then at Hyunwoo. "We should be thanking you. You came to our world alone. You were small and afraid. But you had something we needed. Not just recipes, but perspective." She took a bite, her eyes closed in appreciation. Perfection. The restaurant was a success. Within weeks, they had waiting lists months long. Other restaurants started opening, copying the model. Human chefs traveled to Velkar Prime to work. Velkari chefs traveled to Earth to learn. A culinary exchange program was established. Young humans and Velkari studied together, learning both cuisines. They created new dishes, new techniques, new traditions, but the impact went beyond food. The Velkari Empire, which had been isolationist for centuries, began opening up. They established trade agreements with other species. They sent diplomats to worlds they'd previously ignored. They invited other species to visit Velkar Prime, and everywhere the Velkari went, they talked about human food. About fermentation and spices. About the small human who taught them that strength wasn't just about size or weapons.